How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Moontrap from 1989, directed by Robert Dyke, and starring Walter Koenig, Bruce Campbell, and Leigh Lombardi. Now, this is a late 80s, super fun, cheesy sci-fi movie. For those of you who are sci-fi fans, you recognize the name Walter Koenig probably as Chekhov from Star Trek. And then of course you have Bruce Campbell, who is the second lead in this movie, and Bruce Campbell is amazing. Ash from The Evil Dead, Elvis in Bubba Hotep, Burn Notice. He was also in Xena Warrior Princess as the Prince of Thieves. Really great and fun actor, and to get to see Chekhov and Ash in here, great actors, and I'm glad to see them in this movie. And yeah, I really wanted to check this movie out for a long time. I finally picked up this DVD from Olive Films here. For some reason, harder to find than I think it probably should be, but I'd recommend, if you see it, to pick it up if you like cheesy 80s movies, cheesy sci-fi, cheesy Bruce Campbell. And it is really cool too. Maybe I emphasize cheesy too much, but I am glad to find this. And yeah, I really do like it. So without further ado, let's just start talking about the plot of this movie. The plot, I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. And I want to say my piece on a few plot points. So let's go ahead and dive right in. It opens up with the real-world moon landing, the whole, one small step for a man speech. And when you see this, the camera pans and you see a robotic alien eye watching the astronauts on the moon. Now, it just observes this time, and we wonder, okay, what's going on there? Cut to presumably the present. I don't think it ever gives a date, but cut to the present, and you have two astronauts returning from a routine mission. These are Bruce Campbell and Walter Koenig. Walter Koenig is the captain and Bruce Campbell's the second, and they're joking and having some pretty good banter between the two of them, and you really get the sense that these two are friends. And it's really a good opening there, and they all of a sudden see a large alien spaceship drifting in front of them, and they go and check it out. Koenig, even though he's the captain, goes to explore it, and there's this cool little bit of character at the beginning where they want to send Bruce Campbell, but Walter Koenig's like, I know that I outrank you and I should stay behind to be safe, but I will check out this spaceship because I want to do it. And you really get to see that even though these are professional NASA people, these are people who are eager to explore and find cool new stuff. And that really is a cool character beat right at the beginning. He goes to look at the ship and he finds two things. A red-brown alien egg thing with two doors on the top, and he doesn't know what that is, and he thinks that's all, and he's about to carry it and walk out of the spaceship, but he turns around and he sees a humanoid corpse floating through space. So the two take both these things back to Earth, and they begin to wonder, okay, what's going on, what's in the egg, and why is there a humanoid on the spaceship? Well, they leave for a little bit, of course, and what happens? The egg starts wreaking havoc. It opens up its little doors, and you see the eye from the prologue. It's a robot eye, and it shoots out little tentacles, and it rips apart all the laboratory's machines and kind of Frankensteins together a new body for itself, and wreaks some havoc on this lab. Of course, Campbell and Koenig quickly put it down, and the two of them go, we have to go to the moon and just see what's up there, see if we can find the hidden moon base. So the two of them go to the moon, and it gets to be a pretty cool, classically styled sci-fi adventure, but with a modern sci-fi horror aesthetic over it. So they're going to the moon, and they have to hurry, go from place to place, fight off these monsters, and even though it does have modern grunge that would come from horror movies and sci-fi movies later, there is, at the heart of it, a classic sci-fi tale, like something you'd see in an old movie or an old serial, or like, say, an EC comic. And there is that classic sci-fi heart to it with modern, then modern 1989 stuff. And it's overall really, really fun. And I guess let's go ahead and talk about the pros. Biggest pro in the things selling this movie: Walter Koenig and Bruce Campbell. These two, I mean, if you had to tell me to pick two actors that would click really well, I probably wouldn't have thought of Chekhov and Ash being together, but these two really have some good chemistry and banter between the two of them. They quickly fall into, you've seen it, and like a ton of cop movies, the older, more experienced one, and then the guy under him that's younger and telling all the jokes and has all the banter. And they really do this really, really well. And their performances and their acting with each other, the acting between the two, where they really feel like good old friends, really carries a ton of this movie. Now, this is Bruce Campbell we're talking about. It doesn't go as crazy and humorous as some of his other characters. He never, winks at the camera or goes terribly far, but he does get some good quips and some fun banter and some lines that only Bruce Campbell could deliver. And even though it's not super funny, he really does bring a ton of life to his character. There's little scenes like he's trying to get a coffee machine to work, and then he kicks it and he's like, "Yeah, we don't take that from machines." And then knowing that they're gonna fight machines later in the movie, it really does have a sense of irony about that line, and he delivers it perfectly. So yeah, these leads are great. I also like the realistically styled space gear. You get realistically styled spacesuits, realistically styled spaceships, realistically styled Mars rover, and everything you see here looks like something you could have seen when you looked up stuff about space. And I remember I used to look at space stuff a whole bunch when I was a kid, and getting to see that there and getting to see the story play with that is really great and fun. Now, it's not completely accurate, as in a lot of stuff is more advanced than the real stuff. For example, they want a ship to go to the moon, and they get that ship going in a couple days. Now, realistically, it's going to take a lot of time and preparation to go to the moon, but this is a society that's advanced enough to go, "Hey, let's go to the moon." All right, boom. And then it seems also that to get to the moon just takes a couple days, and you can get to the moon really fast, and in real life, I think it takes, a month or two to get to the moon? It's not just, boom, we're at the moon. So these spaceships also move really, really fast. So it's not completely realistic in that regards, or maybe it's just more advanced than what we actually had at the time. But I did like seeing all the stuff I recognized from looking at space stuff when I was younger, and that's just really, really fun. The suits, the ships, the rovers, it's great. Another thing I really liked with this movie is the society. You get to see, okay, there was a humanoid on the spaceship, they go and they find the moon base and stuff, and they find a bunch of dead humans, and you really do wonder, who are these people? Why do they look like people? Why are they here? And you quickly find out why they died, but, it's a case of, ooh, what did they do that led to all of them dying and messing it all up? It really, is obviously reminiscent of the space jockey from the Alien movie. Not as big and epic, but a similar case of, what happened here? Everybody is dead. So that's always a cool setup, and a mystery, and an agent society you're just figuring out and trying to figure out what's going on. Now, even though there's a chance where they could have explained a lot more later on, they don't, and I would have loved just a little bit more, because you're like, okay, these are humans. Why were there humans on the moon way in the past? And you're like, is it a group of aliens that just happen to look like humans? Was it something with time travel, maybe they went back? Or maybe there were, a people on Earth that their group was really advanced and they just left Earth for the moon, and I don't know. But it is a cool concept nonetheless, but I do kind of wonder what happened there. The next part we have to move into is, I guess you'd say, flaws, but I really don't want to call them that. This movie has a ton of special effects, and they don't necessarily hold up by today's standards. They're really, really cheesy, but that being said, I love this stuff, and it's not perfect. It's not like a modern movie where it looks like they're really in there with them. But that being said, there's something so enjoyably fun about this. If you like puppets, and if you like miniatures, this movie is great with puppets and miniatures. Now, you get things like the robots whenever, there's big ones on the moon, and then there's the Frankenstein one on Earth, and they move, and they're really cool looking, and, there's just something so charming and fun about fighting off puppet monsters, and they pop out, and they all got crazy things about them, and there's one at the end that's a fun little gross twist, and really, really cool, and I really love these things. And then, of course, there's miniature work. They find the big moon fortress, and that's a miniature, and they drive around on their little moon rover, and that's a miniature, and that's probably the one that gives it away. The moon rover, they do actually have a real one for Campbell and Koenig to sit in and drive around, but because they want a vast moonscape, they obviously couldn't build that big a set, so you have a little moon rover and they're moving it through these little moon sets, and it's, I think, primarily the model of the people inside, the fact that they're not moving as much as normal people would, and they're just sitting there really stiff. I think that's what gives it away, that, it's a model. But it pulls up to the moon base, and to be honest, it looked like a really cool, G.I. Joe set. And, I know it's not the most realistic, but just seeing all those little miniatures, the moon base, the rover, all the different ships, and the moon lander, it's all really cool and really fun, and I know it doesn't hold up, but it's cool, and I don't care. But there is, spaceships and stuff, it makes sense. There is one strange miniature in this movie. There's a club that Bruce Campbell goes to, and the outside shot of this club, the roof and the sign, that was a miniature for some reason. I don't know why they didn't just find a real building and put a sign on it, but that's a miniature too, and it's just an odd use of a model, an odd use of miniatures. I don't know why that was a miniature, but like I said, these are fun and cheesy, and I know when I looked at it, I thought of, Mystery Science Theater, both the hosting segments, and also like a movie that they would have watched. So it's cheesy, but I love it, and I recommend it because of that, if that sounds like something you're interested in. But as far as, actual flaws and actual things we have to talk about, there is some pacing issues. Sometimes this movie goes very, very fast, and then sometimes it lingers a little longer than it should in places. An example of it going fast is right when they discover the alien ship. Chekhov's like, I have to go explore it. Cut to, he's in space. He's like, I'm gonna go there. And then he's just flying in his jetpack in the very next shot. And you're like, oh, okay. And then there's, so he moves fast there, but there's also, Bruce Campbell is in the club, Chekhov shows up, and Bruce Campbell goes, we did it. We got approval to go to the moon. we're going to the moon, woo! Cut to, they're on the moon. No preparation to go to the moon. They're at the club, we're going to the moon. Next shot, next scene, they're just on the moon. And I'm like, wow, that moved fast. And then there are other times, particularly where they're driving around the moon, walking around the moon, exploring the moon. A few of those shots where they're exploring, they can go a little bit longer than they probably should. You know, you get scenes where you're setting up atmosphere and the setting, and you want to tell a story that way, and that's good. They need to be there. It's just sometimes they go on a little bit long. But that's really the only flaw with this movie. Everything else that is technically a flaw is super cheesy, and I love it, so I don't really feel like counting that, you know? And if you guys are fans of cheesy sci-fi movies, Bruce Campbell movies, if you like miniatures and puppets, there's a ton to really love in this movie, and if that sounds like something you like, I definitely recommend checking this one out. So yeah, I really did have fun with this. It really was just sit back and enjoy the movie and have fun with the movie, and I really liked that. It really was a good experience. Before I go, though, I do want to say one thing. A bit ago, I did a Dollar Tree haul, you know, pick up a bunch of movies, and I found this movie with Sarah Butler in it, Moontrap, Target Earth. And in that review, I said, it's got the same name as the Bruce Campbell movie, but it doesn't look like it's related. Well, I did a little bit more looking into that, and Moontrap Target Earth is actually a legitimate sequel to Moontrap. The director on the back, Robert Dyke, same guy that did the first Moontrap, he also wrote it with Tex Ragsdale, who wrote the original Moontrap. So it's got the same creative team behind it. None of the same actors, it looks like, but same creative team. So I'm eager to check this one out. I'm hoping I'll not be disappointed, although a belated sequel doesn't look much like the first one. I cautiously going into it, I'm hoping it's good. Anyway, I will get to Moontrap Target Earth sometime. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom there if you want to check out more. I do primarily, when I talk about movies, I do primarily like 95% horror movies. So if you like that and you might want to stick around and see what else I have. Relevant playlist will guide you to something more similar to this. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day.